Welcome everyone to the podcast knockout show, the semifinal round between Jean Grey Phoenix versus Thor. We are finally almost there. The next matchup will be the championship round of season 3, The Power of the Gods. The 4 contestants who made it to the semifinals have definitely proved that they have what it takes to be to make it all the way to the end. And none other than our guests, too. And I want to say thank you very much to the guests, too. They've also done a great job at bringing these characters to life in arguments. Just the creativity of the arguments, just love it to death. But you're not here to watch me talk. You're here to watch a debate happen. So please welcome my 2 guests, Bub's Comics, arguing for Thor. Welcome, Bub. How's it going?
Hey, welcome. It's good to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm glad to have made it to the semifinal round. It's very exciting. It's been a long road. Feels like honestly a year. It feels like, has it been a year? Feels like a year.
Between all the delays, I'm not surprised if it hasn't been a year or 2. It's just like I swore I started this season. I swore I started this season mid-June, or not even June, or something around my birthday. So I don't even know. I'll have to go back in the beginning. But yeah, I've had delays after delays after delays. It was this season. I'll be glad when this season's done. I'll need a small break. All right, but good to have you, Bub. And please welcome the man who brings Comicgories to life, John's Comics with Kids, for Jean Grey. Welcome, man.
I will take the blame for Comicgories. Absolutely. I do love the incredible body you've given yourself and Bub here. You guys really, Bub's got to simmer down there a little bit with those abs. Look at that.
Yes. Well, I wanted to make sure I float in the water. So, but no, now you got the boobs. So
there you go. I'll take it.
Congratulations.
For those of you
always wanted.
Yeah. For those of you listening on the podcast, for the background, I have the thumbnail. So Bub and John are both over their respective characters. So, Bubs, you have the choice whether you want to go first in your opening statement and closing statement, or second. John left the decision up to you. So since he arrived first, it's your choice on how you want to start.
He arrived first. Okay.
Yes.
Well, he can go first. I'll take sloppy seconds. I don't care.
Awesome.
It's not a problem for me as long as I get in there. I mean, you said it yourself in the intro. 2 men enter, only 1 come out alive, or something like that. I'm not quite sure, but yes,
exactly like he said.
Yes.
That's my memory isn't as good as it used to be.
Yeah, just not near a minute. Rob saying, just to know, Jean Grey is trending on Twitter right now. Well, from what John tells me, I'm not surprised. But anyway, you know the rules for the knockout. Everyone gets 1 free, pass or challenge. Basically, if Bub or John want to challenge something the other says in an argument, to throw it out and doesn't get considered for the people voting. All I like to do is challenge, and then we'll do a brief little talk with me, and I will decide on who's right and who's wrong, and then whoever wins the challenge gets to keep their view of the argument moving forward. Any questions before we move on to the beginning of the match? Bub raised his hand. Bub?
Who goes first?
Not as much as who's on second. I don't know. All right, John, take it away with your opening statement, man.
I will say I am a big fan of both of these characters. Jean Grey Phoenix, Odin's son, Thor, 2 iconic Marvel characters. And really what you have here is a battle of brain versus brawn. And I think this is a fascinating, argument to have in the realm of comic books. You have an Omega level telepath mutant who is also the goddess powers of the Phoenix on top of that, battling that guy with his hammer. I mean, it's really exciting to have that head-to-head competition. Can his little hammer defeat the greatest telepath in Marvel, who is also having the goddess powers of Phoenix? Really just, a nail biter. Who could possibly win this fight? So I'm excited to see all the discussions around these 2 massively powered characters and who could possibly win.
Awesome. Very well opening statement. All right, Bub, what does Thor have to say in his opening statement?
Well, I talked to him earlier today, and he was changing a tire for a nice elderly lady coming back from bingo. And I think if you were in that situation, do you think the Phoenix is going to help you in that? I don't think so. I don't think Jean Grey is changing tires by the side of the road. I just don't see it in her. So it might be a small hammer, it might be a medium hammer, it might be a large hammer, but sometimes you got to call the hammer in to get the job done. And Thor's always been that guy. He no job is too big, no job is too small. We've seen already in the knockout all the tremendous talent that he's defeated to get to this point. And really, he just needs to step over the withered body of Jean Grey, who has died more times in the comics and screen and cartoon. I mean, you name it. This girl is famous for losing battles and dying. How many times have we seen Thor die? I think he just keeps getting stronger. Let's see. He's King Thor. I mean, he just every time he gets pushed back, he just comes back a little stronger. He's had multiple hammers and devices to help channel his abilities because they're so strong. He needs a conduit. But poor Jean Grey, she's really just there to be murdered and to lose. So we'll watch her do it again tonight. But much love to her and her many outfits, both green and red, and and that's what we got going on today. So remember, a vote for Thor is a vote for car safety.
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, or as I believe, the worst Thor has gotten is missing an arm, and I think he has that back now. So
he's lost eyes, he's lost arms, but that's nothing compared to the occasional 3 claws to your midsection that Jean Grey enjoys about once every 3 years.
I so love it. I love it.
Well, this will truly be a cosmic battle. You got King of Asgard and a Phoenix Force Omega level mutant, and well, I'm sure John can list many more things than I possibly can. So how do we see? Let me begin how I always like to try and imagine it. How is this gonna match up? Is Thor looking out, seeing this threat of a mutant here, or is Jean Grey flying a little too close to Asgard and invading Asgardian airspace, and Thor just decides to take her out? How does this fight actually start off? So why don't we take it from there?
Mm-hmm.
You guys have an idea?
Personally, I think there's the Bub hit on it with his metaphor of the car and the tire. The idea is one of these two is malevolent and one of these two is benevolent. And I have a feeling it would inevitably fall down to the world destroying Phoenix against the world saving Thor. And that would be the impetus for this whole kind of debate. I can't imagine anything else. Phoenix, of course, has the goodness of Jean somewhere buried inside, but inevitably that internal battle is the core of her character. Whereas Thor routinely is on the side of good, even if his ego gets in the way or what have you. I think that would be the crux of this. So in my opinion, I think the metaphor is perfectly apt. The idea that Phoenix would just fly right by that granny and Thor would stop. I think that's the crux of this.
Yeah,
cool.
I totally agree. I think that touching on a point John made early, I was gonna save it for the end, but it is true that Phoenix has had lots of people buried in her over the years. Who did you say all? Well, there's several of them, but Jean's been buried inside of her. Didn't Rogue bury inside of her for a minute?
I mean, there's a lot of people that have had
Scott's
the Phoenix
been in,
Force.
Cyclops been buried in her. Wolverine's been buried in her. It just goes on. And I got to tell you, for me, I like when they stop having a good time and get down to brass tacks. And when you get down to it, how many worlds has the world destroyer destroyed? And so far we have 0.
That's not true.
Is it not true?
In the very first appearance of the Phoenix, she destroys an entire planet.
What was
She
the name
wipes
of that
out a
planet?
solar system. I don't know the name of it.
Oh, that's because nobody was living there.
Insignificant.
See, there
No,
are some,
people were living. They actually show you the civilization destroy, which is why
no,
the
no,
Shi'ar
I don't believe
galaxy.
that's true. I tell you what, open up your X-Men 101. I want to see that
Let's
page.
just crack that slab and double check.
I'm sorry. Did you try to encase your feeble argument inside of solid air so that we could not prove
I don't
any of
need
your
anything
points?
more than Rob Wurst, the knowledgeable Rob Wurst in our chat, to verify the fact that yes, Phoenix has destroyed an entire solar system by engulfing the sun in the center of that solar system and taking the energy of the sun and then wiping out an entire solar system of planets.
I gotta tell you, she sounds like a real drag.
I mean, she's not a good guy. I don't claim to be she's a good guy.
I think we completely need her out of the way, and who better to just knock her off her little pedestal than Thor, the protector of the realms of the what are they called, the many realms, the 7 realms. I'm a little. I just watched Game of Thrones again.
I'm glad you're bringing. If nothing else, Bub brings facts and knowledge.
Absolutely, fast facts. Here's another fast fact: Thor's hammer is so powerful that he could probably knock the wings off. Does the Phoenix even have wings? Does she have wings?
I mean, no.
Oh, she's a Phoenix without wings. Okay, so she is the flightless bird. She's the penguin of the Marvel universe. Flightless, can't do no wings, not even any wings. Oh my gosh, I could throw a rock from my house and hit 5 wing joints, and she wouldn't be on the menu in any of them. I'm done.
We all know how incredibly tough, physically tough Thor is. You know, he could take a punch and keep on coming. How is he going to counter the mental powers of Jean Grey and Phoenix? You know, that's the only thing where he has to almost catch her very quickly, very suddenly by surprise.
Yes, almost as if he would have to strike with lightning fast. Oh wait, lightning fast speed. Thankfully, Thor has the ability of lightning strike. So therefore, and also, I don't know if you've ever watched someone try to do any telepathic type of movements around the room or get into other people's mind after they've been hit in the head with a hammer, but it doesn't go well. It doesn't go well. They drool a lot. It's not pretty. So I think it's not going to be a problem to lightning fast striker and knock her upside the head. I think we're safe.
The issue you're making is you're including the word fast. Lightning, he has. I agree. But anybody ever see how long it takes for him to get? He has to hold the hammer up. He absorbs some thunder, lightning, and then he zaps. How much time does she need to get into his brain before it actually happens? He's got to spin the hammer around a bunch, and then he starts flying. How much time does he need to give her? This doesn't seem fast. It seems like it has the power of thunder and lightning. But it doesn't. I don't get fast from anything Thor does. Second, I want to bring up the character of the Enchantress. Fans of Thor and Journey into Mystery know the Enchantress is a character who often tries to mess with Thor's mind using illusion and using the power. And there are many occasions in which she basically messes up Thor with her mind. And she is not even an Omega level talented person when it comes to mind messing. I feel like Thor is incredibly weak-minded, and this is where the flaw comes down to this whole thing. Hitting someone with a hammer is amazing, but if you never get close enough or are not fast enough to do it, nothing matters.
Yeah, but I mean, I understand what you're saying about Thor being targeted with mental powers before. However, in your original premise, Jean Grey's just operating in bad intent. It's not like she's after Thor. She's not going to Asgard. She's not messing with Thor. She's just sitting there being bad.
Yeah.
And so Thor has the element of surprise on her. He can get the drop on her because she is not focused on Thor. She's focused on, I don't know, whatever she does, turning over buses of nuns, pulling fire alarms in all the schools. I don't know what she does, but it's just chaos. And
it is
not only that, but about every 5 pages or so in the comics, she has a mental breakdown, drops to her knees, grabs her hair and screams out somebody's name. And then, and then tries to muster it back up to go. So there will be a lot of times where she'll be just having a complete meltdown and he's able to get the drop on her. I don't think that's going to be a problem.
Definitely got a good matchup here, and the repertoire between you two is nothing short of entertaining, I gotta say.
Bub and I often joke that like both of us cannot be on a show together. That one of us has to leave so this is a rare occurrence it's pretty spectacular.
Yeah.
Very rare. You're seeing my Clark Kent beside me right now. It never happens.
This mustache peels off, and it's really just Bub underneath.
I thought maybe it was Alfred. Like Batman called in. He said, "Alfred, I need your help. Clark needs help."
This is the longest we've been on a stream together. It's 16 minutes.
Usually somebody gets kicked out by now. Or
Yeah.
graciously.
All right. So, what's the weaknesses of Jean Grey that Thor would, take advantage of? I mean, I guess if he can be fast enough, but I guess there's a difference of building up or not. But it seems to me, I don't know, would she be aware, or would she be so powerful she's like foolish and unaware, like who would dare attack me, and then boom, kind of a thing? Is she omnipotent enough to be paying attention to any threats?
I hate to answer first again, so go ahead, John. Tell us the weaknesses of Jean Grey.
I mean, I think the key weakness, Bub jokingly said she dies a lot, and it's true that she has died. Of course, the metaphor of the Phoenix is she's reborn many times, and so seemingly can't be permanently dead.
Right.
But the reason that she's died and the many times that she has died, it's almost in every single case, it's been her choice. She's chosen to hold the powers at bay and allow herself to die because she's scared of the sheer magnitude of her ability.
Now, are you talking about Phoenix or Jean Grey?
I mean, how do you split them apart, right?
Well, I mean, that's what I'm like. Usually, Jean Grey takes over, right, and fights Phoenix.
The main weakness of Jean/Phoenix is that schism, right? It is that fragility, if you will, of mind. The idea that much power inside a human being, a mutant no less, is a lot to manage. And that schism of good versus evil inside of her is her, in my opinion, only weakness. The challenge is a godlike power, which she has, and an omega level mutant ability, which she has. It's very hard to sneak up on something like that. It's even with the speed and power of Thor, sneaking up on it is not the ability. He would need the way to defeat her is through reason, and that's been every case of her destruction has been a case of somebody reasoning with her to the extent where she allows herself to be destroyed. I don't imagine Thor is the best one to solve a reason logic argument.
I agree. I think that the logic will have to come from Jean Grey, because Jean Grey's inside of her and she's constantly fighting with the Phoenix Force.
Right.
And so that schism that he's talking about is real. I mean, that's what I was talking about. She drops to her knees constantly. It's a real battle. So anytime Thor comes in, he's already got somebody working on the inside. He's got a little bit of help in the situation. And all he has to do is drive a little wedge between Jean Grey and the Phoenix. Oh, and what's the best tool to drive a wedge? A hammer.
No.
A hammer.
A hammer doesn't drive a wedge. A nail. A nail drives a wedge. A hammer doesn't drive a wedge.
No, the nail doesn't. The nail is the wedge.
Yes.
Unlike the championship matchup where we'll be facing against the DC counterpart, we are in the same universe here. I would think Thor is aware of the mutants, especially this chaotic one named Phoenix, who's tended to cause a lot of trouble in the past. And I would think that Thor
let's talk about that. Yeah, all the times that Phoenix has like threatened to destroy the Earth, has Thor ever stopped her? Oh no, he never has ever stopped. Phoenix.
I checked, and in all the Marvel history, he has never once bothered to intervene because he knew that the threat level was so low that she was probably going to defeat herself, or her best friends or ex-lovers would team up to defeat her.
Right.
So
now,
he just.
I want John to answer this question here. Shop for Comics says Thor has both hammers currently and learned to go for the head. He can pin her down with Mjolnir and take her out with Stormbreaker. Can Jean Grey Phoenix lift Mjolnir with her psychic powers, or is she weighed down?
I can't imagine her being worthy to be able to lift either, but that doesn't mean she can't avoid them, dodge them, move them, or get to him before he's able to even throw them.
Jean gets pinned all the time. You can go What? You can go through the comics. She gets pinned all the time. I don't
Mostly by
think Thor's
Logan.
hammer is going to have a hard time hitting the mark.
I mean, I remember when they threw the hammer at Thanos, and all he did was just create a little gap in space and time and send it across to another universe, close it off, and Donald Blake is there suffocating in outer space. Like
we already beat Thanos in an earlier episode. You probably weren't here because the original person that was supposed to be fighting on Jean's behalf dumped her. Like most of her previous lovers have as well.
Yeah,
Jimmy the Geek Aficionado, right, was supposed to be here tonight, and he opted out because he couldn't stand to fight on behalf of Jean anymore.
Well, to be fair to him and all that, we kept on having conflict issues on all that. So when I needed to get the scheduling going, I reached out to John because I needed a X-Men fan to argue an X-Men character. So
yeah, because I heard Jimmy had to go into the hospital because the schism was overtaking him.
Too much.
He couldn't take it anymore. He even sold me this book. This is actually a book from Jimmy the Geek Aficionado. He sold me his copy because he was so sick of Jean and her destructive ways.
You hate it. I'm sure you're getting rid of it because you can't stand her. I'm sure you're instantly.
I can't get rid of it. It's missing a panel.
Who are you?
I'll take it.
Cut it out, hodgepodge it onto a mug or something. I don't know.
I'll read you what my ASM 14 says on the CGC banner thing. Missing panel. Give me. All right, so Lady Fantastic not here, just mentioned by Rob. Lady Fantastic knows her X-Men far better than I. I thought about reaching out to her to argue for Jean Grey, but I like John's argument on his X-Men, so that's why I reached out to him first. Anyway, this is definitely powerhouse. Who do you think has the pure raw power? If we had to measure this on a scale of 1 to 100, who has the pure power? Because it seems to me Jean Grey has the power, but Thor would have more of the battle knowledge. It could be you can win with either, but sometimes it's more beneficial to have the knowledge rather than the pure power because it's hard to control the pure power, without the knowledge.
I have to agree with you and your question as you answered it yourself. I think you did a great job. I'm not quite sure what the answer was, but it was perfectly said and executed. So I agree.
John,
I think this all comes down to mental fragility, and for me, like there's no way all that Thor knows how to do consistently, time and again, is hit things really hard and flex. And I just don't think he's got the ability to master somebody on this level. I just think this is so far above him as far as strength, as far as power, and as far as intelligence. He doesn't have the ability to crack this and make her deal with herself, because the only way he's going to beat her is to force her to deal with herself. You can't hit her with a hammer and expect to solve this because it won't work. So at this point, it becomes he doesn't have the mental faculty to solve this problem. You can give me Doctor Strange. You got a conversation. This would be interesting. But
I don't. Doctor Strange lost to Thor in an earlier battle. I wish he'd been here for that part.
I mean,
I got to tell you that if you're talking about mental fragility, I would think that the poster child for that would be Jean Grey and Phoenix combined. I mean, they are as fragile as it gets. They defeat themselves half the time, and it takes all their friends and ex-lovers to defeat them the rest of the time. So. Thor hasn't really been called into this action much because it's such a small threat. But if they've had full Marvel Universe events dealing with the Phoenix Force, and he has not been able to deal with it. He hasn't bothered.
He has around.
Name one that's ongoing that hasn't been settled without Thor's help just yet. You don't call in the big guns when a pea shooter will do the job.
Yeah. A king doesn't deal with matters of peasants on another planet.
That's right. A wolf is not concerned with the daily trivialities of sheep.
Well, this has definitely been a very fun matchup. Does anyone have any further points and things that they would like to argue and bring up? John or Bob, anything you had hidden up your sleeve?
I think it's been proven time and again that the only thing that beats Phoenix is herself. And the only way to stop her is to get her to deal with that. And I don't see Thor as having that in his repertoire of abilities, he hits hard and figures it all out later. And I just don't think it's going to be enough in this scenario.
Okay. Well, Bub, if
do.
you don't have any, or do you have any anything matchup? Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. I know Thor sells himself. I don't really have to do much here. It's an obvious win for Thor.
Yes.
But you know, to be fair to Phoenix, she has nice outfits. I enjoy when her hair catches fire. I'm sure that's a nice refresh, kind of a slash and burn kind of situation. But you know, when it's all said and done, you got Thor wielding the hammer, wielding great power, and artfully wielding it. He's not just a blunt instrument. He does targeted strikes. He has battle tested. He's had a long life, and he protects the skies. And it's gonna be Thor is gonna bring that hammer down on Jean Grey, and that's gonna be the end of that. So
yes. And what Marvel fan doesn't like a fiery redhead who's a little bit crazy?
I mean, right?
I know. Have you ever met one that wasn't?
Shots fired.
Well,
You just lost the redhead vote.
Yeah,
she's not redheaded, but my wife is a little crazy. So
there you go. There's hope yet.
All right. Well, if we have no further points, we'll go ahead and start final arguments. So, John, take her away with your final argument. So, your closing statement.
Like I said at the beginning, this is definitely a brain versus brawn storyline. And invariably, brain wins out. And this is an example, I think, of just the simplistic truth of that statement. You have somebody like Thor, known for his muscle, known for hitting things really hard, and not a whole lot else. And when you're facing off against someone who has all kinds of mental skills to create distractions, illusions, or simply just to control somebody who's weak-minded, and then on top of that, a godlike power, it's really not fair. And as a result, I don't think he'd get close enough or be fast enough to hit and solve this problem. If he was maybe of a mind to communicate and try to convince her, he might be able to succeed, but I just don't see that in his repertoire.
Very good. Very good. All right, Bub, your closing statement.
Thor wins. Hammer strike to the head. Dizzy Phoenix falls to the ground during a moment of weakness, as she has every time. Conflicted with herself, she gets hit in the head by a hammer. Lightning strike up the butt. It's over. Jean Grey and Phoenix twitching on the ground, and we leave whoever the X-Men are today to, you know, come down from Krakoa or wherever the heck they're at and clean up the mess yet again, as she gets defeated all the time. So there you go. That's what I got.
Awesome. Well, anyone in the chat who has not voted, there's the link. We'll wait about a minute and then we'll head off to the final results. This has been a very, very fun matchup, guys. Thank you both for joining me, and I look forward to one of you going to the championship round and the other one being a part of season 4 and all that. So
all right, we'll see you in 2026.
Yes,
for season 4.
Yeah. I might just come back into it then because of the break. You know, I might need as long of a break as the delays in this season was, just so I can gain back my mental health and try to schedule it.
I understand.
But yeah, I look forward to season 4. It's gonna be all villains. And there will basically be no
maybe
rules.
like 3 seasons ago. Did we do an all villains?
No, the first season was just basically characters selected. And then second season was basically I try to have human type, no one too powerful, basically, because I had things like Batman. So basically super human, but not super
duper human,
not godlike.
Right.
And then I wanted the opposite this season. I wanted the power to destroy planets in this season, basically. And that was the theme there. And this next season here, I want it's good to be bad. You know, I want all villains, you know.
That'll be fun.
So basically I want dirty, nitty gritty, you know, I kick you between the legs kind of arguments from the villains. You know, I want, you know, those kind of things. Anyway, let's bring up the tally here to see who wins and heads to the championship matchup.
It's going to be a nail biter, folks.
Yes. Yeah, who will win, the God of Thunder or the Omega level mutant? And the results in 3, 2,
Hey, you forgot to vote.
1. I don't vote.
Oh, can I borrow your IP address?
We have a winner, Jean Grey Phoenix with 34 votes and Thor with a Dragon 11. So this was, according to John, he spammed his friends. And
all I did was share the link and say Thor versus Phoenix, you pick. And
that's what I did. And then I told them vote Thor, and they still voted for Phoenix.
Well, this was like I said, 3-1, basically. This was a very healthy, good matchups. All right, so congratulations, John. You will be moving forward to the championship round to face off against Dr. Fate, argued by Sharon, Life of Two YouTubers, and Rena. So
Dr. Fate beat out wasn't there a lady they were up against too?
Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch. Man, that would have been great to see Scarlet Witch versus Jean Grey.
Unstable redheads together.
Oh, perfect. That would have been a great matchup. It'll still be good, but that would have been something.
The background picture would have been a mud pit,
Yeah, for real. Now, would you put Jean Grey in the villain category for next season?
I don't know. You have to convince me about that. I mean, from what I understand, Jean Grey's or Phoenix is, like I said, not a force of nature, and nature is neither good nor evil. It just is, and she can be.
I don't know that Phoenix has ever shown up to do good deeds.
Scarlet Witch too could be easily considered.
Yeah, I mean, if like I said, I'll be going live one of these times here for a hangout. Anyone and everyone welcome, as I basically debate and talk about certain characters, do a little bit of research kind of a thing, and going, okay, let's see, Lex Luthor, Doomsday, or kind of thing, as I create a big old list of villains, and then I will figure out the invites for who goes there to be a part of it. So, and all that. So it's definitely just cool. As long as they are considered a villain at one point or another, I guess it could be figured in there. And then you have to argue as a villain. You can't go, well, Scarlet Witch is a hero and all that. She only had the moment of being a villain. Well, no, you have to argue the No More Mutants Scarlet Witch as your character moving forward.
They have to battle among innocent people.
Yeah,
and a real villain would use that against any kind of person who is even middling.
Yeah, part of the thing I'm floating around with an idea for season 4 is have like a, like I created for the battle royale of the knockout. I had a island that you guys had to stay on. That was your battleground. I was thinking about possibility of creating like a list of like 6 or 10 locations, and that's where you fight. Abandoned, continent, city full of people, whatever,
Most villains are going to pick populated areas, I have imagined. Yeah. I think
it all depends on how I can figure it out. If I can't figure out a way to make it work or figure out a way to get people to go along with my idea, I will just drop it entirely and let the one-on-one fight happen as is.
I don't know why you say that. I think you're very persuasive. Every time you send me a message, somewhere around 3 days later, I respond. And I feel like that that is 100%. I mean, you're doing great booking all these. I know it's a labor of love, but it really is fun. Yes. So awesome. I appreciate you doing it.
And these are the kinds of nerd conversations that I think we all enjoy when we go to our LCSs or when we hang out together, is having these discussions about would Darkseid be able to beat Thanos? Like, what would happen? And you just that nerddom is the best.
Yeah,
fun stuff.
Well, stick around, John, after we end the stream here, because I will tell you the thinking I had for the championship roundup, because I want to keep this little tidbit secret from everyone voting. Is just a little bit of surprise.
I'm already articulated.
So, all right.
Well, I'll leave so you guys can share tidbits.
Oh, you can. Is that what all right. So, thank you everyone for tuning in to the knockouts, the semifinal round. Stay tuned for the championship round coming up in about a month. I'm thinking of. I want plenty of time to to have the Dr. Fate and Jean Grey argue support and share the voting link and all that. I'd love to see a voting link of 100, on either side kind of thing. I want to have as many people as possible vote and all that. So I plan on getting the link out there and having it at least a month out. That way there's plenty of time for each of the contestants to drum up support and all that. And maybe even have some of the fandom or in our community place some bets,
Oh, I like it.
Yeah. 2-1 says
I only take 10%.
2-1 says I win as a host.
All right. Rigged.
Yeah.
Take care, everyone. Thank you for joining us on the Knockout. See you guys for the championship roundup coming up soon. Take care and happy collecting.